Hi there! It's Sunday and time for a new episode of Record Collecting with a Quill. Theme for today? Well, we're gonna keep it simple. What's in the bag? I attended a record fair yesterday and got some really cool stuff, so I think we'll just, as I said, keep it simple, and I'm just gonna show you the stuff I bought. But before we start, you know the drill. Make sure you subscribe and hit that little notice bell as well. Well, it was quite a long while since I attended a real record fair. I visited one shortly this autumn just for half an hour or so, but this time I was there at the beginning and I stayed there for way too long, I believe. But I got some really cool stuff, and usually whenever I go to a record fair, I sort of have a mindset, whatever I'm going to look for, a certain band or a certain type of music, or this time I will only buy singles. But yesterday I came with a totally open mind, so what the stuff I bought sort of reflects that as well, because it's sort of all over the place, but it's fun, and that's the charm of collecting. So I'm going to show you the stuff I got, speak a little bit about it, starting out. This one, The Head Boys. This is a power pop band from Edinburgh in Scotland. They released one album in 1979. Had a minor hit with a song called The Shape of Things to Come. A great track. I think I heard it on some podcast or something, and I had to get it. This one is usually quite easy to find, and you find it really cheap. And I listened to the A-side yesterday, and was a couple of really great songs. The Head Boys. Next one. This is a band I've been Europe, and they're Prisoners in Paradise, the last album they made before they disband. I wasn't that into Europe when they were popular in the late 80s and 90s, maybe because they, being from Sweden, they were everywhere here, so I didn't really listen to them that much. But you heard all those hits everywhere anyway, but I didn't buy any of their albums, but I've been buying all of them lately, and I'm really fond of them. I think there's great songwriting and great performance by the band as well. And this is the last one with Key Marcello in the band as well. Some really strong tracks on this one. Died quickly because of the whole grunge movement, but I think it's one of the better ones in their catalog, actually. Prisoners in Paradise. Next one, this is some local stuff I got. Kung Tung, or King Heavy in English, and their album is called Det är ett kort liv, det är våra liv. It's a short life, it's our lives. This is from 1978. It's sort of prog blues, and they were quite popular at the time. They only made one album, but as I said, some great prog blues, this stuff, and I really enjoy buying local stuff. There isn't that much released from around this area, so whenever I find some stuff, I always try to sort of always get it, because it's fun to have the local stuff. Next, what do we have here? Yeah, I finally got a good copy of this one. Jimi Hendrix Experience, Electric Ladyland. Usually they are quite expensive to get, but this one didn't have to pay a fortune, and it was in really great shape as well. Yeah, what can you say about this one? I had it on CD for years, but I finally got a good vinyl copy of it, so I'm really pleased with that one. It was probably the one album I was most pleased with. Next, something totally different. Joni Mitchell and Hermingus album, collaboration with Charlie Mingus. Wrote music for, I think, 4 tracks, and she wrote the lyrics. And she's backed here by Weather Report, and I got it mainly because I'm such a huge fan of Jacob Pastorius bass playing. This one is sort of experimental jazz, and I guess it's not for everyone, but I quite enjoyed it. I listened to it on my way down to Mönsterås for rehearsals earlier today. And Giacomo, I think he made 2 studio albums and 1 live album with Joni over a period of a few years, but cut out, but I got it cheap. Next one. Yeah, this is a band I've been talking about before, James Gang. I'm really fond of them. This is their live in concert album, the last one they did with Joe Walsh before he left the band. Unfortunately, just a single disc, but great nonetheless. And I got another James Gang album as well. This one, Jesse, Come Home, the last one they did in 1970, 76 I believe. And James Gang for me has always been either the Joe Walsh albums or the Tommy Bolin albums, but lately I got Straight Shooter and now I got this one, and I'm going to get the others as well, but I think it's Passing Through and Newborn as well. It's kind of interesting to have a band where the drummer and the bass player are the mainstays, and you change guitarists and vocalists and keyboard players over, what is it, like 10 albums or so. But they're all great albums in their own right, I believe, and such a great band. So whenever I get the last albums I'm missing, I will probably do a James Gang episode. Next, yeah, this is a band that should have been a lot bigger. Imperial State Electric with Nicky from Helicopters and Entombed. I'm really fond of this band, and this is was the last album I was missing of theirs, called Honk Machine. I'm surprised they didn't take off bigger than they did, and I think now they put the band on a shelf since Helicopters reformed. But there's some great rock music on all their albums, so if you haven't heard them, you must check them out. Always great stuff from Nicky. Also got this 45, Thin Lizzy, Cold Sweat. Has a couple of live tracks, Angel of Death and Don't Believe a Word, that I don't think are available elsewhere. So got this one, sort of corny band photos and with a pink background, but what a great band Thin Lizzy was. Next, of course, I had to get a couple of Bob Dylan albums. I finally got around finding a nice vinyl copy of the Freewheeling Bob Dylan. I mentioned this album last week with the Trackmasters of War. This was a really early pressing, but it was in great shape, and the album was, the actual disc was in great shape as well. So really pleased with that one. And I got another one of his, Knocked Out, Loaded. All those 80s album with Bob Dylan are maybe not his best period, but I think there's always 1 or 2 songs that are really good. This one was no exception. Listened to it yesterday. And you can always find these albums really cheap, so I tend to buy them whenever I find them, those I don't have. But I'm just missing a few now of his, and then I think I have his whole repertoire of albums. A great guy. Next one, I think I mentioned this one before as well, the second Elton John album called Elton John. What a great album. I think it was actually Mike Amott in Arch Enemy who played this album for me the first time, and what a great band, what a great writer. One of my favorite songs of his, The King Must Die. The last track on this album is fantastic. So if you haven't listened to all those early Elton John albums, do yourself a favor and do it immediately, because they are so good. Actually got this one as well, I haven't had it on vinyl, the Goodbye Yellow Brick Road album. This really nice sort of triple gatefold. Everything was better in the 70s when record labels had money and said yes to all the cool ideas the artists had. And this one is one of the greatest albums of all time. Funeral for a Friend and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. And yeah, so much great stuff on this one. And also, knowing me, I can't go to a record fair without buying something with Kiss, but usually it's getting harder and harder to find stuff you don't already have. I found a really nice copy of Hotter Than Hell from Sweden, and I almost bought it, but then I checked my Discogs, and so I already had a copy of it, so I had to I put it back. But I found this one, reissue of Rock and Roll Over, pressed in Norway. You can tell by you have the a 4 there. That's the telltale sign. Of course, you can also check the label codes. It's a reissue from 1978. A bit difficult to find, really. And what's interesting is you may not see it here, but this sort of printing is sort of faded. I actually thought at first it had been sitting in the sun or something, but it's both the front and the back is the same. And I compared it with the US original pressing, and it's a lot paler in comparison to the original, so it must have been a sort of a bad printing job when they did the reissue. Cool to have nonetheless. Also got a couple of CDs. I think you can buy CDs really cheap now, and it's going to be interesting to see if CDs will have this sort of the same resurrection as vinyl had, because I see sort of the same tendencies. In the 90s you could buy albums for next to nothing, and nowadays prices are crazy, but CDs are really cheap. So whenever I find some stuff I think it's cool, I buy it. I got this one, Foreigner, Head Games, their third album. Big fan of all that stuff. Always great songwriting, great playing, and great vocals by Lou Gramm. Got this one, the latest studio album by The Who, called Who, from 2019. I just gave it a quick listen, and it sounds promising. I think I heard a couple of songs when the album came out, and yeah, what a great band. And some real blues, Hound Dog Taylor and the House Rockers, Natural Boogie. This is such a raw recording, great guitar playing, and it's yeah, it swings. And last one, this one, Dundertåget, de feta åren är förbi, features the guitarist Robert Dahlqvist, or Strings he was called, guitarist in Helicopters, who sadly died way too young. He made 2 albums with this band before or after leaving Helicopters, or Helicopters taking a break. Swedish lyrics, and I think both albums are fantastic. So that's the stuff I got. And speaking of this one, you have to promise yourself to watch the Helicopters' latest video, So Sorry I Could Die, which is a great tribute to Robert. And you have check the video out. It was sort of heartbreaking, really. That's the stuff I got. It was great going to a record fair again. It was, as I said, it was way too long since I've had the opportunity to just go and chat with people and look at and buy records. That's what we love, don't we? Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next week. Make sure you follow us on social media. It's the QUILL Sweden, the QUILL Sweden. Thanks, and I'll see you on again next week. Bye.